Hello everyone, welcome to episode 31 of Generation GC. My name is Molly Hudelson, I'm your host, and this week we're talking about War from Youth Authority, Good Charlotte's sixth studio album in 2016, released as they came back from hiatus, and my guest this week is Erica Brown. Last week we talked about There She Goes from Cardiology. A few days ago we had a bonus episode on Superman Can't Walk. Next week we'll be back talking about a song from Generation RX. My guest this week is Erica Brown, who goes by Ducky just about everywhere online. She's from Wisconsin and she works retail part-time, and she's also a part-time variety streamer on Twitch, which she'll talk a little bit about. Very cool. Erica says that she thinks Furbies are cute and she doesn't really like peanut butter, and importantly, she wants anyone listening to know that it will be okay and to keep hanging in there. Very, very important message. We do make some mentions of mental health and trauma in this episode. There's nothing graphic or detailed in that sense. I don't think the episode will be upsetting or triggering, but it's definitely not a lighthearted episode. It's more so about, how those things can affect you than, the exact issues you might struggle with. So, just a heads up. As a reminder, please visit blacklivesmatters.card.co and antisemitism.card.co to learn more about anti-Semitism and the Black Lives Matter movement, respectively. It's important to continue speaking out against injustice. Also, the U.S. presidential election is coming up in just a few weeks. In many states, the deadline to register to vote has passed, but in some states, there is still time. Go to vote.org and they'll have information on registration in your state. They also have election reminders and polling place locators if you are going to vote in person, as well as info on how to be a poll worker if you want to do that. Finally, Generation GC stickers are here. Do you want a sticker? Two things you can do. Number one, go to anchor.fm/GenerationGCPod and click support. Supporting the show on Anchor helps me sustain the show and have the right equipment, as well as to do things like print the stickers and get them mailed to y'all. Or number two, you can donate to a charitable organization. There's a lot of great organizations listed at blacklivesmatters.card.co, so start there. Pick one, make a donation, whatever you can afford to donate. Then you're going to send me a screenshot of either your support or your charitable donation, as well as your mailing address. DM me on Twitter or Instagram at GenerationGCPod or email generationgcpod@gmail.com, and I will mail you stickers. I'll also occasionally tweet or post on the Instagram story about other ways y'all can get stickers, whether that's good deeds that you can do or ways to help spread the word about the show, so make sure you're following. Thank you all for tuning in, and now on to episode 31.
So, War is track 11 on Youth Authority, which is Good Charlotte's sixth studio album released in 2016 as their comeback album after hiatus. Track 10 is Cars Full of People. Track 12 is Moving On. So you have sentimental and kind of slow and sweet, hard and heavy, and extremely sentimental to end with. Important to note, Good Charlotte had previously released a song called War on Greatest Remixes in 2008. This is not that song. When you look up lyrics to War, if you go on Genius and you go by album, if you go to Greatest Remixes War lyrics on Genius, it has these lyrics, which is a little bizarre, but I found the correct lyrics to that other song called War. I don't know. Do you find it funny, Erica, that they have two songs with the same name? Because I find it kind of funny.
I do. I actually didn't know about the other War. I did
That's
know
okay.
about Moving On, but the previous one, that one I didn't know about. But yeah, that is kind of weird.
I mean, I have opinions on Greatest Remixes, and that opinions is that Greatest Remixes as a whole was not very good. Sorry, guys. So, most of Greatest Remixes kind of, aside from Anxiety, perpetually is, forgotten to me. But, yeah, there's a song called War on Greatest Remixes, but that's not what we're talking about today. There was a music video for this song which we will talk about a lot because this music video is so fantabulous. But I do not believe it was a single. Like, it wasn't pushed to radio or anything. It was played live a bit. Like, Setlist.fm has records of them playing it live 12 times in 2017, and only 2 of those were in the US. It was like mostly Europe. I don't know, maybe that just correlates with how much they were touring in Europe, but I don't know. I saw them a handful of times in 2017, and they only played this song, I think, at one of those. I don't know. But Erica, before we dive more into War from Youth Authority, I want to help our guests get to know you a little bit.
Okay.
So, the first thing I like to ask everyone is, when did you first hear Good Charlotte, and what were your first thoughts on them?
Honestly, I don't think I was old enough to make an opinion.
Okay.
I was about maybe 10 or 11. Which, I mean, I guess, yeah, maybe. Like, my dad had their first album in, one of those big, binder things that was, in everyone's cars back in, 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, I just remembered it because it had the clouds and,
yes,
all that stuff. And he, I played it, and there's just, I don't know. It just kind of stuck with me since
I
then.
love that your dad played Good Charlotte for you.
My dad had a lot of different types of music. That was just the one that we vibed to together.
I mean, my dad, so as of recording, Erica, you haven't heard this episode yet, but my dad is going to be the guest on an upcoming episode. But my dad's exposure to Good Charlotte was because of me. he wasn't the one sharing it with me. But, I kind of took over stereos, and my dad got to hear Good Charlotte because of me. So,
oh, nice. Well, yeah, after that, I never stopped playing it, ever.
I know. He was probably I guess this is okay. And then you're like, oh, wow, okay.
Keep it coming.
Keep it coming. This is great. That's so fun. I love that.
I've ruined many a CD from just, overplaying.
Yep. I, in enjoyment of Benji's Sex Pistols fandom, as well as the whole band's love of Nirvana, I took my dad's copy of the Sex Pistols album as well as Nirvana's Nevermind, and that was many years ago, and he hasn't gotten them back.
That's great.
Yeah. I love it. One thing we had mentioned, Erica, or that you had mentioned when we were talking on Twitter before this, was that Good Charlotte was always an escape for you. So, and I think that's a feeling that a lot of people, myself included, definitely share. But what do you think it was about the band that allows you to kind of escape things?
After my dad passed away, it was just I don't know, comforting in that weird sense.
Mm-hmm.
Especially the first 2 albums, because I didn't listen to Good Morning Revival until after Cardiology came out.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I wouldn't touch the album. So it was the first 2 albums were kind of that escape, especially Hold On. And it's just, I don't know, it's just, I don't really know how to describe it, honestly.
So what after Cardiology came out, what made you feel okay, I'm gonna go listen to Good Morning Revival now?
I kind of felt bad. It was a matter of I felt bad for not listening to it. Sure. Because around the time that it came out, it literally came out literally a month after my dad passed away, and I wanted nothing to do with it. Nothing.
Right. Which is completely understandable.
I was all how dare you make happy music right now? I'm not touching that. And then I listened to Cardiology, and I was wow, maybe I should probably listen to the one that came out before.
Right.
Yeah, there was a lot of emotions going on between then, and it just I had the album too.
So you
just
bought
never
it,
opened it. I bought it and it didn't open, and I was like, I guess I'll buy it because I love you guys.
It just like sat there unopened for like 3 years.
Oh yeah, it collected a lot of dust just on my bookshelf.
Yeah, I mean that's completely understandable though. Like, you know, when something happens that affects you like that, you know, yeah, you can form, I think, pretty strong associations between a person and the time in your life with, you know, a band, an album. So that's understandable.
Yeah.
Something you had also told me was that you used to take a lot of road trips. So what were, you know, you're from Wisconsin. What were some of your favorite places to road trip to?
I mean, honestly, they weren't like big road trips.
Mm-hmm. Hey, they don't have to be big to be like significant. I don't think I've literally
been like that. Like, I think Chicago is like the farthest out of the Midwest I've been. And me and my friends, we used to go to Six Flags a lot.
Where's the closest Six Flags to you?
Gurney Mills, I think that's the city.
In Wisconsin?
Like, in Illinois.
Okay.
And then we have the Dells, and I used to go there quite a bit as well.
We had a day off there for Warped Tour. I'm remembering that now. I'm like, it was some like random town in Wisconsin, and I think it was Wisconsin Dells. I have to ask you also, have you ever been to a place in Milwaukee? I think it was called the Beer Line Cafe, and they have like crepes and sandwiches and things like that, and a lot of like veggie vegan options.
In Milwaukee?
Yes.
Like downtown? That sounds like a downtown Milwaukee
Yeah,
thing.
I think it was like downtown because I was going there before a show. It was very good. It was very good. And if you're ever, you know, going...
There's always good food downtown. Downtown, in my opinion, has like some of the best like cafes and like little restaurants and stuff.
Yeah, I was I was there for work for a show, and you know, didn't have a car, so I was Ubering. So I was like, what can I find that's like vegan and sort of close to this venue I have to go to? But it was very good. It was very good.
I'll have to look that up. It sounds very familiar.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was really good. Like I said, loads of. I think it might have been all vegetarian and had like a lot of vegan options, but I'm not positive. But it was very good. But as we talk about road trips, I mean, do you have any places you're very eager to go once it's a little safer to travel?
I don't know. There's like a lot of places. I definitely want to go to Disney. And like since I don't fly, like I'm scared to get on a plane, it would have to be a road trip. Like I'd have to drive there. I'd have to like
the thing
get
is
in a car
like
with somebody.
Yeah, I mean, statistically in terms of like accidents, flying is safer than driving. But as we talk about COVID and like disease transmission, driving is definitely safer.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So yeah. Plus, you know, you enjoy the trip. You know, you have some fun.
Exactly.
Stock up on the snacks. Yeah.
Like, and it's not like accident-wise. It's like making me scared to get on a plane. It's like the heights.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Which
Like,
is very high. A plane. I mean,
like,
I've flown many times. It's very high. You can't deny that. It's very, very high.
Yeah. There's very little things will get me on a plane.
So outside music, you were telling me you work in retail and you're also a Twitch streamer. So I've only watched like a small number of streams, usually like musicians doing streams. And I think I tuned into Cody Ko's stream once because I love him. What kind of things do you stream?
I am a variety streamer. So like,
what does that mean?
Like game wise, it means like I'll play just about anything.
Okay.
Sometimes I do like just chatting where I'm just like not playing a game at all. That can be kind of difficult though, since I do like when I do play my games, I stream directly from my Xbox because my current setup is not ideal. But I do play a lot of scary games.
Okay.
That's like probably my number one, and then like a lot of story-based game. And if you can find me anything cute to play, I will also do that.
So are you like an Animal Crossing person? Because that seems very cute.
If I could stream I play Animal Crossing. But I can't stream it because I don't have like the correct setup. But it is one of my favorite games in the whole world. I've been playing it since the GameCube.
I didn't realize it had been around that long.
Oh, yeah. This game, I think the current game, it was like at least like 4 or 5 years before this current game came out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think. I could be wrong. It just seems like a really long time since that.
I am very minimally aware of most video games, but Animal Crossing has been all over my Twitter, because I think the new one came out like during quarantine. And I was like, wow, everyone's so happy. This is so amazing.
The funny thing about it coming out during quarantine is like people who don't normally play video games was playing this game.
Yes. Like I, who have never owned a video game system, was almost like, I should buy a Switch and buy Animal Crossing.
Honestly, I would suggest it. I would highly suggest it for the simple fact that it's one of those continuous games.
Yeah, so you can.
So like it doesn't end.
Work on it, right?
And like the villagers are so cute, and like it's very, very relaxing. Very relaxing.
Yeah, it seems very like what I've gathered is that it's just engaging enough that
yes,
it like distracts you, but it doesn't feel like it's big mental effort per se.
Yeah, and you can have like like it's online.
Right.
Like you can have like friends come to your island or whatever.
So great. That's so great. I love that. I love that.
It's amazing.
I love it so much. So, Eric, one more question before we dive into war. We talked about quarantine. I mean, it's been rough for everyone. So, I would just love to know, what are some of your favorite ways to self-care as of late?
Can I be honest? I don't.
Okay.
Very much. I know I should.
Mm-hmm.
But like between work, mostly work.
Right.
And like the anxiety of like everything. Sometimes I forget. Like there'll be times where I will forget to hydrate. I will go into work with no water, and I will just I will wear myself thin, and I know I shouldn't do that.
Yeah. It's hard, and I think it's really good that there is kind of like a movement of people that are like, self-care is good, take care of yourself, hydrate, eat healthy, do things that relax you. But it can be very hard to like make that an actual part of your routine if it's not
it's like I used to like draw, and like I've got like Photoshop and whatever on my iPad, and I used to paint, and I used to play games for fun, and now it's just like everything just seems so stressful, and I'm like constantly forgetting things, like constantly.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure it's because of the stress, and I'm just like, because I normally don't have that bad of a memory. I'm just like,
I mean, definitely like memory issues. I mean, I don't know. I say this with my bachelor's of arts in psychology. I'm not an expert, but I think that memory issues, when you're stressed and anxious, are extremely common. So.
Oh, yeah.
Don't beat yourself up, but I get it. Yeah. So let's dive into war. So we had connected on Twitter this summer. I mean, you are friends with a lot of the girls that I've had on the show, which is amazing. And I was very excited to have you as well. And, you were talking earlier, and you had told me on Twitter a few songs that you just hold really close to your heart, one of them being War. Why did you want to talk about this song in particular?
Because it's very, like, first of all, it stands out in this entire album.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
It stands out. And listening through it, I didn't expect it. Like,
what do you
I don't
mean?
know if that, like, just the tone of it. Like, I didn't expect it from, like, all the other songs. So I was like, okay.
Right. The other songs are very, like, nostalgic and sentimental.
Very. And then this one just kind of, like, hits ya.
Yeah.
like so many emotions.
So many emotions.
And I think that was what did it. Like, it kind of helped me realize a few things, like, as I was listening to it. And I was just like, wow, okay. Definitely one of my favorite songs on this whole album.
Like, it made you realize things about yourself.
Yes, 1,000%. 1,000%. I'm just like, oh God, why do you have to do this to me?
So to whatever extent you're comfortable sharing, what did it make you realize about yourself?
Well, in my opinion, the song, like not in my opinion, but like the way I felt about the song is like talking about like a war. against yourself.
Yeah.
And like I definitely realized the past like decade or so I've literally just been fighting with myself.
Like mentally?
Mentally, yeah, emotionally, like all that. And I was just like, oh God, way to just call me out like that, boys. Thanks, but no thanks.
Right. It's like, oh, I didn't realize this was personalized content.
I didn't realize you were out to get me, but thanks.
Right. Like, thanks, but also, ouch, how did you do that? Yeah.
I know. It was like I had to listen to it a few times. I was like, no, this isn't making me feel this way right now, is it?
Right,
oh, it really is making me feel this way.
Yeah.
Like, I think the first 2 times that I listened to it, I just bawled my eyes out. Like, oh my God.
I mean, what I had written down was that I think it's the most introspective song on the album, because there's a lot on this album that I feel like kind of celebrates all they've done as a band and like what their fans mean to them. And this is very introspective. It's very like emotionally and musically, it's heavy. So I think this is a sign of where they ended up going with Generation RX. You know, planned or not.
I feel like the song would fit perfect on Generation RX, honestly.
Yeah. I think it would fit very well on Generation RX. I mean, I don't know. What I wrote down is that it's about struggling with your own baggage, however you want to put it, you know, mental illness or demons or trauma, you know, knowing in your heart that you're a good person or like trying to be a good person, but also having all of this past trauma and these issues that are affecting you, and just being like, okay, well, am I going crazy and I like can't be helped? Am I like doomed, or do I just need to talk to someone? Do I just need to like get some help?
Yeah, it's like exactly how I felt listening to that song.
Yeah.
Like, oh man.
I think it's a common struggle. And I also feel like, I mean, they've written songs from the first record, you know, Motivation Proclamation talks about being very depressed, but I feel like this is a more nuanced kind of song. Like, I don't think they could have written this song when they were like 19, 20, 21 years old.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely don't think so.
I think it takes, and it's like, this is the kind of perspective of someone who it still feels like they're working on themselves, which is normal. Like, we're all constantly a work in progress, right? Nobody actually has like their entire self totally figured out. That would be kind of weird. But I feel like, you know, the person that's writing this song is like, has a lot of self-awareness.
Yeah.
I feel like we've kind of answered it, but I did want to ask, do you think this is about a war, like a fight or a war with someone else, or is the war within ourselves?
I mean, it could be both, honestly. Yeah. Like, there are often times where I've, especially in the past, realized that, like, not only was I fighting with myself, but at the same time fighting with, like, maybe my mom or something during stuff. And it was just like, it's like, because I'm fighting with myself, I'm fighting with her. It, like,
leads you to fight with other people. Yeah. And it's like, well, and then it's like fights with a person in the past, or, you know, trauma that relates to a relationship or whatever in the past can impact you such that you start fighting with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I did an episode with Ashley Rayburn on the song Anxiety, and which talks a lot about how, you know, the breakdown of communication in a relationship can just lead to so much anxiety. And like, that anxiety can end up being very pervasive, I think, and feel like you're kind of fighting your own mind, which is very, like, it's tough. It's a hard feeling, I think, to sometimes put into words, To be like, oh yeah, I'm at war with your own mind. And to kind of like, I feel like in order to write this, they had to kind of separate, and I think this is a really good thing, that they were able to separate, okay, who am I versus my demons or my struggles or my traumas. You know, I think that's like a very important step on the road to kind of figuring yourself out and being happier and healthier, to be like, okay, I am not, I acknowledge my traumas and my issues and that I struggle with these things, but they do not define me. And that's like, that nuance, I think, can be really tough, and nobody necessarily really teaches you how. But I think, you know, acknowledging something without letting it defining you, I feel like is the key to being able to grow as a person. I don't want to say move on, because I don't think that's necessarily it, but to grow as a person, to heal, to mature.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't think there's really any other way to really describe that.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people don't actually understand that either. Like, I know a lot of people in my life, definitely, like, if I were to sit there and tell them, oh yeah, I'm having a war with myself, they would look at me like I was insane.
Yeah. Like,
what does that even mean? And then you have to go and explain it, and then it's just like, why bother?
I will have plenty of times where I can be like, I do not need to be anxious, but like, I just am. And sometimes it's about something like very minor or very silly, like the outcome of which will have no actual impact on my life, you know, or it's something that like realistically will probably almost definitely be fine, however it turns out. And then it's just like, oh,
me on a daily basis.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like daily basis. Like, I have gotten anxious over things that would be 1000% impossible to even happen. Mm-hmm. Like, being anxious, I'm going to take a gun to an airport. Which would just never happen in a million years.
Right.
And, like, I'm still freaking out over it.
My thing lately that's made me anxious the most lately is that I'm trying to move. And just, like, wanting to find a place that's, like, better. Because, like, I picked my place right now because it's close to work. And guess what? Now I'm working from home. And I'm like, why did I pick this place? The one thing that I was like, oh, this was totally the biggest, greatest thing in the world doesn't even matter now. And I'm just like...
I would assume eventually you're going back to work, right?
Yeah, eventually. I mean, eventually, sometime. But it's like, you know...
Looking at the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I like the foreseeable future, you know, like right now I'm feeling like, okay, I can pretty comfortably knock on wood, but I can pretty comfortably say I can sign a lease somewhere that's like a little farther from work, knowing that I am not going to be back in the office as much as I was, at least, you know. Mm-hmm. Just speaking realistically, like, it wouldn't be like we would all go back to full normal immediately. But yeah, like the process of finding an apartment is like very stressful. And especially now that I feel like I'm caring a lot more about finding my next place than I did about finding this place. I'm putting all this weight into it, but it's like, dude, anything I get that is not the place I'm in now is going to be better, realistically.
Yeah.
Like,
and like, I guess if you're like anxious about it, it's not something you're really thinking about. You're just like, it's just making you anxious for no reason. Right.
And so I'm like, okay, I want to like search and look online, but like, how much is being prepared and being proactive, and how much is I'm just like thinking too much about it? It's, you know, but I don't know. I think I'm a prepared, organized person. You know, you see the notes that I put together for the show.
Oh, yeah.
And I think in general, just feeling prepared and wanting to prepare is my MO with things. I did want to reference what Benji Madden had said about this song, War, in a behind the track video, which he did, I think, for every song on this album. So this is paraphrased. I didn't get it exactly word for word, but he said that the hardest thing in the world, especially for people that have had traumas in their life or things that were tough to get through, is to learn how to love and be loved. No one can make you whole. You have to make yourself whole. If anyone tries to come against us, he's talking about like, okay, and then maybe you get married or something, you fall in love, and if someone tries to come against you, hey, I'm never going to leave your side. So I think it's about that, like, learning to trust someone kind of again after maybe you haven't had experiences in the past that tell you people should be trusted. That's what I got out of that anyway. And he also says, if you listen to the lyrics, it's probably a sign we need a little therapy. I'm not going to deny that.
Hey, therapy is good.
Yeah, therapy is good. I'm not currently seeing someone. I have in the past, but like honestly, most people, if not everyone, would benefit from like the right therapist. So like, props on him for having that awareness. I mean, I think therapy should be more normalized and accepted for mental health as it is for physical injuries of all sorts. Yeah, props on him for having that self-awareness. I did also have to point out that Benji said in this video that he can't wait to play it live because it's the most rock song we've ever done. The riff goes super hard, which it does. It's so heavy. It's incredible in that way. But, like, I don't think they really played it live all that many times.
I don't think so either.
I mean, look, this is a video that Benji made in the studio. Like, I think he shot all of these in one day. Probably before the album came out. But
I'm trying to think. When I went and saw them live for this tour, they didn't play this song.
No. I have the set list hanging on my wall.
They actually played, didn't they play like a lot of older songs during this? So, like...
Yeah, I mean, this was like their comeback tour, right? Like,
I guess everybody wants to hear the old stuff, I guess.
But right. Like... there's so many good songs on this album.
So many. I will have so many on repeat like all the time.
Yes. Yeah. In a way, I feel like this song kind of sticks out from the album. But, I mean, number one, that's, like, you can't have a Good Charlotte song without at least one song that's, like, pretty emotionally intense, right?
Oh, yeah.
But, so that's, I don't know, I feel like it does stick out in that sense, but I like it a lot, because I think if we just had, like, 3 songs, if we had Cars Full of People and Moving On, and then in between them another song that was, like, that same tempo, that same feeling, it would have felt, like, too much, like, too, like, if it would feel like you're just slogging through it, I think.
Yeah.
But, like, okay, these screams in this song, like, Joel goes hard.
Yes. Oh my god, that's like probably one of my favorite parts of this entire song.
In a way, it definitely feels like it's hinting at what they end up doing with Generation RX. Everything from the lyrics to the screams, as well as the riff, But I feel like this is... I want to say like just more punky than I feel like Generation RX is. Like less of a production, even though it has a lot of very similar elements to what you find like all over that album. I don't know. Does that make sense?
No, it does. Like you said, like it's got that like punky feel to it. And like with Generation RX, I honestly don't know how to really categorize that whole album. It's just heavy.
Yeah.
Like when somebody asks me about that album, I'm just like, well, it's heavy. I don't know how else like to really say it. Like start to finish, it's all like it's an emotional roller coaster. That entire album.
Yeah, it's a lot. But I feel like it was good that they did that after this album.
Oh, yeah.
I'm very curious. I guess here's my question for you. it's been, as we're recording, just about 2 years since Gen RX came out. No signs of new music, but who knows? You know, we all obviously hope. Where do you think Good Charlotte will go on further albums? Like, what do you think the next album will sound like?
I don't know. Maybe something like not heavy, but like I want to say kind of like Youth Authority. Like, just go back to that. Just Youth Authority seemed very, I don't natural. Like, I don't really know how to like really describe it.
I'm wondering if they'll bring back any of the stuff they did on like Good Morning Revival or Cardiology. I mean, I kind of feel like they won't, just because like Cardiology, I feel like was just a very weird time period for the band. So it's almost like, I love Cardiology, but I almost feel like it's hard to separate, like, oh, that was just like a weird time period and they were on, you know, a different label for the first time. And like, how do you separate that from like the album itself? But I don't know. I would like, what I would like to hear is something that brings in some of those like dancier electronic stuff with kind of the energy of like Youth Authority. That's what I would love to hear. But I wouldn't be surprised if we get something that's maybe a more pop version of like Youth Authority kind of. But you know, who knows? Like, truly, who knows? Because I never have felt like I've expected or known where they're gonna go with a release until they start talking about it.
Yeah, same. I think it's always like just a surprise. Which, I mean, I kind of like that. They kind of keep you on your toes.
Right. I mean, it's like, I like one of my other favorite bands is Walk the Moon. And, you know, 2014, they had put out Talking is Hard, which is the album with Shut Up and Dance. And that album is incredible. And it's like so high energy. Overall, I'd say it's a pretty happy album, right? It's very high energy. It's very catchy. And then they follow it up with What If Nothing. And like in the lead up to that, they started talking about how like, yeah, we wrote about like breakups and stuff. And it's not as high energy in the same sense. And it explores a lot more emotions. So it was very different. And now I have no idea what's going to come on their next album. But it was like sick. Because I love that.
I love when bands just kind of keep you on your toes. It just... Yeah. Like, we're not gonna tell you or like leave any hints. You're just take it as it comes.
Yeah, I mean, I like Newfound Glory. I like Simple Plan. I would argue that, you know, I almost feel like I ought to do an episode of the podcast, and maybe this is, you know, I do the Simple Plan song "You Don't Mean Anything," where I think Joel had some guest vocals. That was the one, right? I think.
I think so. It's been a while since I listened to any Simple Plan. I'm not gonna lie.
But I would say that where Good Charlotte has like like they've shared a lot of fans, right? Especially in the first few albums. But whereas like Good Charlotte mixed things up and always kept you on your toes, I felt like Simple Plan always kind of, they were like, hey, this is what we do, and we do it well, so we're gonna keep doing it. So, Erica, do you have any like memories or stories you want to share about War?
I mean, not really. Like, a lot of the times that I'm listening to that song, I'm listening to it alone.
Sure, yeah.
Like, it's just one of those songs, like, I'll listen to it by myself because I need to, like, be reminded to, like, get my shit together.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good thing, you know?
And, like, that's kind of what I use it for, like, because it just kind of, like, puts me in the headspace, like, okay, you know you're dealing with shit.
Mm-hmm.
Just...
deal with it.
Deal with it and get past it. Like, you can get past it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And lately I've been listening to it a lot, so I don't know what that says about me.
I mean, it's, you know, I think
it's just because it's a weird time that I'm just all like, and like, part of me is all like, maybe I am like actually getting my shit together, but like, maybe it's just the quarantine and everything that's like kind of got me like feeling weird. And
it's a lot, right? Like I mean, for many people, the very obvious stressor is that they have either become sick or they are at especially high risk of getting sick. Even if you're not at especially high risk, you could still so easily catch it and become ill, right?
Yeah, it definitely scares me too, because like I do work in retail,
right?
And
so it's like no matter what you do, like you're interacting with the public.
I have like severe asthma too, so I'm just all like
tough, yeah.
And I can't like afford to take a break.
Right.
So it's like I'm just like going out there, just doing my best and just wearing myself thin, and if it happens, I guess it happens. Like,
I mean, I think it's like it's tough because it's like a very real danger, you know, especially for someone like yourself that has, you know, asthma, that's like a pre-existing condition that makes you like more at risk. But it's like, and like I try to remind myself that like, okay, well, like I have to wear a mask, I have to socially distance, I have to wash my hands a whole lot, you know, I have to, when I bring the groceries in, I put the groceries away and then I sanitize the countertops. You know, things like that. But like, I've largely in many ways gotten better about this, but it was like at the beginning of quarantine, I would just be like worry. There were a few days where I just like could barely sleep because I was just worrying. And it was like, it was hard because I was like, well, it feels like I'm not doing enough, but there's literally nothing else I can do.
Oh yeah. It's like the same
and I wish I could do more so I would worry less.
Yeah, and then it's like the whole, well, symptoms don't start showing up until like 2 weeks, and you're like, oh my god, 2 weeks from now, I'm gonna be sick, and I'm don't know how it happened. Have I infected people already?
Right, yeah.
Like, even though like you're going through those steps, like wearing a mask, washing your hands, sanitizing everything. Yeah. It's just like, and I live in a house full of people, so I'm just all like,
I'm very grateful to be working from home, like incredibly grateful to be working from home during this time. I think it definitely takes a lot of my stress off in that sense. But yeah, it's like uncertainty too, I think. But again, it's like then it just leads into this whole thing of like you are kind of like you end up like fighting with your mind of like, oh, but am I actually actively worried? And it's good that I am so concerned because that is a sign I am being cautious of like a potentially very dangerous illness. Or am I just like worrying for nothing? You know?
Yeah.
That's like the war that I think a lot of us are facing right now.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I heard the term, so I was listening to another podcast that's like a advice. She's like a former celebrity magazine person, so she does like advice, and it's like it's not like a professional, but it's kind of like if you write into like Cosmo or whatever for advice, it's like the equivalent of that. I mostly listen to it because I find it very entertaining, but it's also like kind of helpful sometimes. But I was listening to an episode she did recently where she coined the term dog projects, like. And you have pets, right?
I do.
Okay, so you ever, you know, find the pet, you know, if you have a dog, you just walk up and you see the dog just tearing through a pile of papers, or they're just in your closet and they're just sniffing around and they're like making a whole pile of things and doing whatever they do in the closet, but like they are actively doing something, right?
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah, you know, as humans, we need those quote unquote dog projects to help our anxiety. Like, you need to have something you are doing.
That makes sense.
If you just sit around doing nothing, you just kind of feed into your own thoughts, and it's not good, right? Like, you think too much.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so I was like, well,
if I'm not doing anything, I like worry more.
Like, I've been knitting. I'm working on a blanket. I've been working on a blanket since a few days before Memorial Day. I'm still working on that same blanket. But, like, it's great because while I'm knitting, yeah, I can, like, watch Netflix or listen to a podcast or whatever. But, like, while I'm knitting, I can't be looking at my phone. I can't be working or you know, trying to check email after hours. while I'm knitting, I am knitting. Like, that is my focus.
Yeah, that's actually a good idea. Yeah. I tried knitting once. I'm just too clumsy with.
I mean, to do a blanket, literally, it's been 3.5 months. I'm close to being finished, but like,
don't knitting projects usually take a while?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on like how much time you devote to it, right? Yeah, like
that seems normal.
But like, I've been cooking a lot, and I'm just kind of okay with taking a long time to cook dinner, because it's like, you know what, making bread is such a great stress reliever. Because, like, it requires you to be very precise in your measurements. Like, do you bake at all?
I do.
Okay, so have you made bread? Because I feel like bread is...
Bread a long time ago. Like, my grandma used to have a bread maker. And me and my cousins used to... I want to get one again, actually. Yeah. Like, because Hawaiian bread and a bread maker...
Oh, I've never made homemade Hawaiian bread, but I love those.
You should.
That sounds so good. But, like, I made challah last week, and that I brought to, like, my grandma and everything. And that was so great because it was, like, all these very precise measurements. And then it was, like, you have to knead the dough by hand for 15 minutes because I don't have a stand mixer.
That is so good.
Oh, yeah. And then I had, like, all this precise work, and I had to set a timer to let it rise. And you had to braid it. And then you have to let it rise again. And then I put it in the oven, and my whole apartment smelled amazing. And then I took it out of the oven, and I had delicious bread. It was great, solves many problems. So I feel like bread is a good dog project, keep yourself busy.
Oh, but, definitely.
Knitting.
I don't have enough kitchen space right now for bread.
Oh, yeah, that's tough. I
kind of got a small kitchen.
Yeah.
No counter space. None. Like, absolutely none.
I have a similar situation, small kitchen, very little counter space. My kitchen table is just counter space, and
we don't even have a kitchen table. We got like
rough.
Really small kitchen. Yeah. I mean, we have like counter space like in the living room area because like it's kind of weird. Yeah. It's like we've got the living room, and then we've got what I'm assuming is supposed to be the dining room, but we don't use it as a dining room. But there's like a shelf thing, cabinet area.
My dining room is my home office, so I sort of have a dining room. Like, I'm glad my apartment has the setup for a dining room, but it's not actually dining room. But speaking of work, because I do work in the music video industry, so that sort of ties into this. There is a music video for this song. It is a fantastic music video. It is so good. I watched it like 3 times yesterday and like twice today.
Same.
Yeah. So the music video came out August 2017, a little over a year after the album was out. And my biggest memory relating this song and this music video is getting like an email from my editor at Substream at the time. He sent it to like our whole team. He was like, "Hey, can someone write a post about this new Good Charlotte music video?" And I'm like, "Hello, yes, I'm on it." And so I wrote an article for Substream on this video. And I remember I sent that email from my phone. I think I was like sitting in the mechanics, like waiting, and like wrote it from my phone or something like that, kind of on the go. But if you go to this is my humble brag, not even humble, this is my brag for a second. If you go to the Youth Authority Wikipedia page and see what they say about this video, scroll to the bottom, check the citation. They've cited my article, citing me by name on wikipedia.com. Yes. The sentence that they included that was cited to me was that the clip focuses on a boy who hears his parents fighting. Wanting to escape, he goes outside before ending up at an arcade. I was very proud of this little article. I don't have to read the whole thing, but, I opened it by saying, "It's been a while since Good Charlotte have played a basement show, but in their latest music video for War, they do just that." Erica, do you want to take us there? I'd love to hear, like, in your view, what's going on in this video?
Really, really stressed out child.
Yes. Very stressed out child.
A very stressed out child is like, that's like all I see. Like when I watch this video, it's like, I just feel bad because like, I understand to an extent, like just that feeling of like watching people fight and like trying to run away, and then it's just like it's literally just the whole thing. It's just like stressed out child.
I just want to like reach out to that kid and give him a hug and like tell him things.
Oh my god, yes. Just like I want to hug you.
Yes.
You look like you need a hug.
So then there's this bit at the end where the kid and his new friend are in the basement playing their guitars.
I love it.
It's so cute. It's so great.
It's like that music. It's like their escape. Like, hey, okay.
Yeah, I think this is pre-autobiographical, I would say, this video. But it's a very universal thing. I think the feeling of, and whether that situation is, you know, your parents are fighting or you're bullied, or you see someone else getting bullied, or, you know, whatever it is. I think for a lot of people, and like you were saying, music and guitar was an escape for you. So I think that feeling of like finding solace in music is
and then like having someone who like feels the same way.
Yeah.
Or like who can understand and like,
this is such a great music video. I like want to go watch it like 4 times in a row now. It's so good.
I'll probably play it after this.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. I figured out earlier this year how to like watch YouTube on my TV. So now, like, when I'm watching music videos, I play them on the TV, on the big screen.
Oh, yes. So I love doing that here. We've got, like a 70-inch on our wall.
Nice, yeah.
Playing that music video in particular on that TV is amazing.
That's amazing. Yeah, my TV, I mean, it's a flat screen. Like, and they're all flat screens now, right?
Yeah.
It's not that big, and it's really not like a good quality TV, like at all.
Yeah, the one in my room
it's still like, it's still bigger than like even my desktop screen. My desktop computer that I have for work is like very good quality, and it's a really big like desktop monitor, really, really nice desktop monitor, but still like.
There's something about watching it on a bigger screen.
Yeah, and for me, it's like getting out of the space where I sit all day for work. You know,
yes,
like yes. I'm on YouTube quite a bit for work, obviously. So it's nice to like be on YouTube somewhere that's not
I definitely like, because like when I stream, I'm like always in my room watching like the same size TV. So when I don't have to be in my room when I go out there, it's like a weird refreshing feeling. Yeah, it's just like it's like a break, even though I haven't left the house.
Well, that's why I like, you know, I used to, if I was pre-COVID when you could go places, if I was like having writer's block, I would take my computer and go to Starbucks, and, you know, you can't do that now.
I used to do that all the time. I know. I hate that, not being able, because I used to like take my iPad to Starbucks and just draw. People watch. Can't do that anymore. Nope. I mean, I can people watch on the bus when I go home from work, but that's not the same.
No, it's not the same. I feel like there's probably a lot less people on the bus, and oh, really?
Yeah. It's supposed to be like 15 minimum on the bus, at least here, and like sometimes the drivers don't listen to that. Yeah, I always try to stay as far back on the bus
and go.
Yeah, I usually like go straight to the back, because usually there's not many people when I get out of work, because it's like layover across the street from my work. Right. But then as it goes, and they just keep picking up people, and I have to take 2 buses, and I'm just like, yeah.
Well, I want to read some reviews that mention this song, and people had a lot of like very different things to say in their reviews. Clevelands.com liked how it puts Benji Madden's solid guitar skills to work.
What?
Yeah, I mean,
but I mean,
they're not
like
wrong.
he's always had some. Well, I mean, I guess.
Right. I mean, they called Cars Full of People a forgettable dashboard professional knockoff and said that they
That is,
more
like, one
than
of my
make up for it on War, which puts Benji's solid guitar skills to work. So,
well, first of all, I disagree with the first part.
I don't.
Okay?
Yeah, I don't think it sounds like dashboard at all.
I love Cars Full of People. Like, that's probably my second favorite song on that album.
See, to be honest, when I first heard this album, I was like, Cars Full of People is just like, I can completely forget that song and I don't need it. But after doing a podcast on it with my friend Matt Dresden, I've been like won over, although it's still not my favorite on the album.
It's definitely a song that me and my roommate have played a lot when we like drive to like random places, like multiple times, and it's just like, I don't know, it always brings out like good conversations like when we're listening to that song. So maybe it's like I like it because it's got that positive like annotation.
It's a good driving song, you know, for sure.
It is.
AV Club compared it to Taking Back Sunday. They said that it approximates Taking Back Sunday screamo downpours. I don't know. Does it sound like Taking Back Sunday?
Like, no. Like I don't usually like really
I like Taking Back Sunday.
I don't usually like compare bands to like each other because I can always like pick out like a difference in like style.
Right.
But like, yeah, I mean, I like Taking Back Sunday too, but
yeah,
like,
who doesn't? But like, I have a photo of Taking Back Sunday on my wall, you know? But like,
I mean, sure, I guess if that's what they want to compare it to,
but like,
maybe that's what they hear. I don't know.
Yeah, like, I don't want to say they're wrong. I just like don't necessarily hear that.
Yeah, like, I mean, like, everybody hears things differently.
Yeah.
Maybe that's like why like I don't really compare bands to each other. But
I mean, I think it can be a useful tool to compare bands. And I know that some writers are like,
if you like these guys, you'll definitely like these guys.
Right.
Like that way. But
I have a friend, Jesse, who is like a publicist. I guess that's his full-time job. And he has a TikTok account where he does these like music recommendations. So like one thing he'll do is like he'll be like, if you like this old school band, try this new scene band. And he just started doing a series. He did like an indie rock cocktail where he'll be like one part this band, one part this band, as he's like making an actual cocktail. And I think that's such a cool type of content because I think comparing bands like that can be like really useful in describing.
Oh yeah.
You know, whether people agree with how you compare or describe bands or not, you know.
I guess it's all a matter of just like how you're hearing it.
Yeah. Alternative Press called it their heaviest song. They said the bombastic War, easily the heaviest song the band have ever written, feels like something moodier from the Chronicles of Life and Death. The Daily Listening also compared it to Chronicles. They said that the majority of Youth Authority is like early GC, while War is the song resembling the dearest to my emo heart, the Chronicles of Life and Death. As one can guess from the title, the songwriting touches a darker tone and the instrumental diversity is the most impressive here. Especially love the bass line on the second verse and the orchestral inputs on the bridge. It's a massively compounded track. Yeah, I would agree. And like a lot of people, myself included, compared Generation RX to Chronicles. So like,
oh, yeah.
This all fits in. This all fits in, saying that, you know, what we were saying about War being kind of a predecessor to what they did with Gen RX. This fits in with that quite well, I think.
Like I wouldn't say it's like in my opinion, I wouldn't say it's like as light as Chronicles. 'Cause like Chronicles was heavy. But I definitely feel like War and Generation RX are a little heavier than that, but definitely
heavier.
like
I
definitely have that vibe. Like
I think the difference between
that darker
Chronicles,
vibe, I guess.
Yeah, I think the difference between Chronicles and, like, you know, this song and Gen RX is Chronicles was the first album that they wrote after making it big and becoming famous, and they were still pretty young. I think they were 23, 24 when they were writing it, or when it came out. So it came out 2004, so they would have been 25. Benji and Joel would have been 25 when it came out, and now they're like 40. You know, this album came out, they were 25. They would have been like in their late 30s, you know, by the time this came out. And so I feel like there's an element of angst in Chronicles, like that youthful kind of feeling that there isn't on like Gen RX. Like, as much as they talk about things that affect young people, there's not that, like, oh, I am still.
It's like they're talking about it from experience.
Right. Yes.
Like, Generation RX and War is like an adult version of Chronicles.
Yeah.
Like that, I feel like that's the better way to put it. Like it's like
they've had the life experience to maybe put things into words a little differently, you know?
Yeah, like yes, words.
The last critical review I'll read is from the Musical Hype, who said that War definitely makes you want to throw fists in the air. It's second tier at best, but minimally has the desired effect. Angst.
What does that even mean? I don't know what that means, but I don't know if I agree with that.
You know, I'm going to look up on dictionary.com right now. I am going to look up the meaning of angst. And we're going to read the dictionary definition of angst. A feeling of dread, anxiety, or anguish.
But second tier at best. Minimally.
Right. Like, what does that mean? I mean, I think that just means they second tier at best.
It?
Yeah, I think that just means it's not.
I mean, I guess not everyone's gonna like. Not everyone's gonna like something,
right.
But I don't agree with that.
No, and I don't necessarily agree with it either. Second tier at best, I think, just means it's not. I think what they're saying is that this song is trying to make you angsty. It is not that great, but it does its job.
Is it trying to make people angsty?
I mean, yeah, I don't know. I
feel like it's more of them trying to tell a story.
Right.
Not like they're like, I want you to feel this way. And it's more like, I want you to listen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, listen. You don't have to feel this way. I'm not telling you to feel this way, but listen.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen to what I have to say and what I'm feeling.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. Well, I want to read some YouTube comments on this because there were some great YouTube comments on this. Milan Sedlak said, punk rock bands teaching people to not act like douchebags since ever. Thanks for this, GC.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
I agree.
Right? Yeah, teaching people to not act like douchebags. Kelsey McSorley said, this looks and sounds just like the mid-2000s. This couldn't make me any happier. They pulled it off so well, and I didn't know that it could have been done. Vlog Epicness said, if the parents aren't careful, their kid is going to grow up to start an emo band.
Well, in that case.
Maybe the parents shouldn't be careful.
Right?
Yeah, go start an emo band, kid. Go start an emo band. Revolution said, pop punk equals punk. Punk rock equals punk. Subgenre punk equals punk. That's all they said.
I mean, so like just
I think what they're trying to say is that Good Charlotte and this song is punk. Is what they're trying to say.
I would take it as that, yeah. Like punk is punk. Like no matter what sub genre of it you're looking at, it's all punk.
And it's definitely, look, you know, whether Good Charlotte is or isn't punk or what that even means is it's definitely something, you know, that can be explored. And maybe will be explored on this show very soon. The last YouTube comment I want to read is Jesse Yanez, who said, I'm getting a Linkin Park vibe from this, which is, you know, relevant to mention because Gen RX, there was an interview. I forget which site. I want to say it was When the Horn Blows, but I'm not sure. But there was an interview for Gen RX where Joel mentioned the passing of Chester being kind of influential to Gen RX, and that they, in some ways, were inspired by Linkin Park on Gen RX. And thus, if you take this song as a predecessor to Generation RX, yes, saying that this has a Linkin Park vibe.
I could see it, yeah.
And totally, I feel like that was a lot of what Linkin Park was about too, was that idea of being like at war with yourself and your mind.
Oh, yeah.
So, totally fitting.
Yeah, I agree with that, definitely.
Yeah. So, it's only been a few years, but Erica, how has this song held up for you?
It's held up great.
Yeah.
It's definitely not a song I see me getting tired of anytime soon.
Yeah. I think it's one of those for me, it's like gotten heavier as I've listened to it more and kind of processed it more.
I've noticed that too. I don't know. I can't understand, like, I can't explain that. Like, I don't understand why, but it definitely, like, when I first listened to it versus listening to it now, I'm like, wow, this is a lot darker than I remember it being.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, like, the first time you hear a song, you just hear it and you're like, okay, that's like, I like how that sounds, you know? But as you continue listening and process it more, you're like, oh, I'm like paying so much greater attention to all of the emotions that are going on here, both from the lyrics and from, you know, the instruments. You're just paying more attention to all the emotions, and the emotions in this song hit very hard.
Yeah, they do.
So, Erica, just a few songs to wrap up. A few questions to wrap up. What has Good Charlotte meant to you over the years, and how has that changed?
Well, I wouldn't say it's definitely changed at all, but it's definitely comfort.
Sure.
Like I said, listen to them a lot during some really hard times. So it's like comfort.
Yeah.
I don't know how to like really describe it. Home.
I love that. Yeah, that makes sense.
Like, it's just like, I know that like when I listen to it, like I'm gonna be fine. That type, and it hasn't really changed at all. Like,
that's
throughout
amazing.
the years.
Yeah, it's amazing. Well, Erica, do you have any last words about War, about Good Charlotte, or about yourself?
Well, I would like more songs like War. That would be great.
Yeah.
I love the emotional songs. Like, I'm not gonna lie. I prefer them over everything, but maybe that's just because I'm an emotional person. I like feeling feelings.
But I feel like the people, you know, like you and I that have such a strong connection to this band, I feel like if you have a strong connection to this band, to any band, it is because you are drawn to emotional qualities of it. Like, yes, there are artists that I enjoy that I don't necessarily relate to or vibe with, like, emotionally. But the ones that I'm like, oh, I love this artist, there's always, like, some kind of emotional component there. Like, oh, I, like, understand this. I feel like they understand me, and it's kind of creepy. Do you listen to
like this?
Do you know Conan Gray?
No.
So he is a pop singer. I guess pop's the best way to describe him. From Texas. He lives in LA now. But, like, I heard his song Maniac last fall, and I was just like, why? Why are you reading my diary? You're a 19-year-old boy from Texas. Why are you reading my diary?
I love songs like that, though.
Yeah, and then he puts out his album in March, and I'm just like, why are you reading my diary still? Please stop. It's creepy. But then it's like I watched a bunch of interviews with him, like, when the album came out and everything, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, this kid, despite being much younger and having a much different life than me, has had some very similar life experiences that have shaped some of his songs. So I'm like, that makes a lot of sense why I relate to that.
I definitely like that when it comes to, like, musicians, because it's like, you know, they're just people.
Yes.
And that's some sort of like, it's like some sort of like validation. Like, yeah, they may like be big shots somewhere, but they are just people. They have feelings, they have traumas, you know, they might even need like help like with their mental health, and that's fine.
Yeah.
And when they put that through their music, it's like, okay, that's why I'm connecting with them so much.
Exactly. Well, Erica, do you have any last words about War, about Good Charlotte, or about yourself?
No, I can't think of anything.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh, this has been so great. Before I do my outro, so I've been doing a Generation GC and Friends playlist on Spotify, and I would love to get a recommendation from you. Anything you've been listening to lately that you want to share? Anything that's not Good Charlotte? Because I kind of assume you're already listening to Good Charlotte.
Does it have to be new? Because
No.
I've been listening to like I've been listening to a lot of Skillet lately.
Really? Okay.
Yes, and it's particular Those Nights, like the song Those Nights. It's like one of my favorites.
Okay, I will put that. Yeah, I've never seen them live, but a friend of mine.
Oh, they are so good live.
A friend of mine has done some photography for them, and he like sends me shots, and I'm like, they just look like an amazing live band.
I think the last I've seen them was a Summerfest a long time ago.
Amazing. Well, Erica, thank you so much for coming on the show. Listeners, thank you for tuning in to episode 31. Last week on our last regular episode, we talked about There She Goes from Cardiology, and a few days ago, we had a bonus episode on Superman Can't Walk. Next week, we'll be talking about a song from Generation RX. My name is Molly Hudelson. I've been your host. Thank you all again for tuning in. You can follow Generation GC at Generation GC Pod, P-O-D, on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also follow me, Molly, at M Hudelson, MHUDELSON, on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you all for tuning in. Please make sure you are subscribed to the show on iTunes, rate it, leave a review, tell all your friends, and if you're subscribed, you'll be the first one to hear the new episodes whenever they drop. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll be back next week.